Howdy folks, it's Turtle here and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today we're going to start another little mini-series. We're going to fly the entire Mississippi. The mighty Mississippi starts in Lake Itasca, Minnesota, and it goes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico in the Delta, just south of New Orleans, Louisiana. But a few things first. First of all, you might think of the Mississippi like this picture here, right? North to south, pretty straight shot, super wide. It's even a mile wide at some spots. Very easy to see, super obvious, etc., etc. And we'll get to that point, but we're going to start in northern Minnesota, which looks more like this picture here. In fact, this picture doesn't even show the complication justice. It's super convoluted. The Mississippi starts Lake Itasca. It's a little tiny creek or crick. You can't even put a kayak in it. It's not even deep enough, and it just trickles along, becomes a little wider creek towards Lake Bemidji. Then it's a river, kind of, but still really tiny. Flows around and around and around. And then finally in Brainerd, it's kind of like a river. And then St. Cloud, it's river. Minneapolis, it's river. And then south of Minneapolis, it opens up to what people think of the Mississippi. So the first video, maybe even two videos, when we get started on the Mississippi, it's going to be really convoluted and complicated and difficult to spot, but I've studied the maps and I've been through a lot of it myself in real life, so I know what to look for, that type of thing. I do have Google Maps up on my other monitor just to make sure we know where we're going so we don't follow another river thinking it's Mississippi when it's not. So we are starting south of Lake Itasca, actually. This is the closest airport I could find to Lake Itasca, and it's a state. So what it is, it's like a neighborhood where people live, and then you just have a runway for your planes. I'm not sure what that says. Get here, get wasted, get range, oat range. I don't know what that says. No idea what that says, but it's something. So that's where we are. Oh, and islands. You know how I like my islands. So anyway, in the first video or two when we're in northern Minnesota trying to track this Mississippi River crick looking thing, I'll be talking a lot, yapping away, because I know the area super well. I've grown up in Minnesota and spent lots of time in this area. So I'll be sharing some stories and things, which a lot of you actually like. A lot of you actually want more story time and yapping. I just haven't lately. So this will be one of your story time videos. Once we get further south, I won't have much to say because I don't know anything other than just walking the river. So there you go. Real life weather is turned on. No snow in Minnesota right now, so that's why there's no snow with real weather turned on. Radio traffic is turned on, or real life plane traffic is turned on, so we'll hear things on the radio. I told you where we were, told you where we're going. We are in the big Radials Norseman. So is this a sponsored video? I'm not sure what to say anymore because this was gifted to me. Those of you who follow the channel know that Big Radials has been a fan of my channel since the beginning. They were like subscriber number 7 or something many years ago. So they recently, well, I guess a year ago already, gifted me everything in their hangar for free. Well, that's what gifted means, right? So I have their airplanes. I don't fly as much as I should, as much as I could, but I do have close look videos of all of them on the channel if you want to search them out, or all of them at the time that they gifted them to me. So we're going to do one today. So does that make it a sponsored video because this was gifted to me? I don't know. I've talked about it many times. I've flown it many times. I don't get paid to use it or anything. I just got the value of the plane. So don't know how that works. No idea how that works. But I'm just letting you know, because I think I have to let you know this was gifted to me at one point in time. I did not pay for this airplane, although it's worth it to buy it, so go buy it right now. It's the Norseman by Big Radials. I love it. And you'll love it too, because I've never landed this without crashing and burning and starting on fire. So maybe someday, maybe during this series of the Mississippi, I will crash. Or I will not crash. I will not crash this airplane. We'll see. Anyway, the reason why it's already running is because the only way to start at this airport is at a runway, which means it's not cold and dark, which is fine. I could have... I'm kicking something under my desk. Anyway, I could have, started it or turned everything off to start at cold and dark. I just didn't feel like it. Well, plenty of cold and dark starts at other airports as we land on this trip that we are taking. So there you go. Long introduction. My goodness sakes. All right, so I think everything is pretty much set the way we want it. Let's turn on some lights. I think these are the lights. I think. I don't really know. We could do the cockpit light. I guess we don't really need to. Pitot, you can turn on. Everything else is already going because we weren't cold and dark. So we're gonna leave it that way. Not much to say. I'm a little thrown off since I don't need to use my entire checklist over here because we're starting halfway down, I guess. So we're ready to take off. So let's see here. We don't have weather here. Let's see, be on the barometer. What are we at? Oh, it's 1,500 feet above sea level here. I thought it was around like 900. Anyway, 1,500 feet above sea level. Okay. Lights already on. Everything is on. Prop seat. Everything is already on. We just need to announce our takeoff to the north, which is number 5.
Live November 8-6. Traffic Turtle Soup. Tango 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 4-1. Taking off runway tree 1 departure to the north.
And we're just going to go north to Lake Itasca, which is right here. Now on this VFR map, the Mississippi is pretty obvious to spot. Goes up here, goes into Lake Bemidji, crosses over to the other lakes. I'll tell you the names as we get there. Comes out up here. It looks like a river here for a second, but then it gets small again. Comes out, does a zigzag thing, and basically comes back to where we started before heading south. It comes like back here, and then it heads south. So it's very complicated and convoluted. We'll do the best we can to follow it. I don't know how far we're going to get in the first video, but it'll definitely get easier as we go. So I'm glad the complicated stuff is first. But anyway, this is the closest airport I could find to Lake Itasca. So we're just going to fly north, pretty much due north. And we'll talk about Lake Itasca, the headwaters and all that stuff. And then we'll look for this and try to follow it as best as we can. When we get over here, I have to compare with Google Maps because there's a few things over there that are kind of complicated and don't make sense to what I studied before I started. So there you go. We already announced departure. Let's crank this thing up. It says on my checklist, rotate at 110 to 120. So that is down there, bottom right of the speedometer. So we'll keep an eye on the speedometer as we try to take off without running into anything. This airplane does take a long runway, longer than you'd think. It's not STOL, at least I wouldn't think it is, given how long the runway it needs. And are we going to have enough? Because we need 120, which is not even there yet. There's 110. Is that enough to get over this tree? Yeah, that was scary. And we probably would have clipped the tree, but we made it. So let's nose down here, trim down to get some speed. Here we go. Climb 100 to 105. Landing lights off. We're going to keep the landing lights on. In real life right now, if we touch those clouds, we would definitely get icy. And it's like 5 below zero in real life, I think. And if that's accurate, yeah, just below 0 Celsius. So we don't want to touch clouds if we can help it. I do have icing turned off because another airplane I flew recently was bugging out with icing. So I just turned it off. So we'll keep the icing off. Don't really need to worry about it. Alrighty, so far though, seems to be pretty easy to fly in this weather. This airplane is easy to fly once you're in the air. Kind of difficult to take off. A few little nuances there, and very difficult to land, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, as we approach Lake Itasca, which is just showing up there, anything I can say about the area before we talk about the Mississippi? Whoops, wrong program. I'm actually checking my cruise list first. Carb temp is needed, oil temp is needed, pitot blowout is needed, switch tanks every 15 minutes, autopilot is available. Okay, we're all set. Yes, this area is awesome. I love northern Minnesota. It does get cold even in the summer. It'll be like 95 degrees in the day and like 50 in the summer, so you gotta bring several changes of clothes, no matter how minimalist you pack. Ask me how I know. And lots of bugs though. You gotta not care about bugs too much. That's one reason my wife and I don't get to northern Minnesota much. Too many bugs for her. Bugs during the day too. Ola is incredibly beautiful. It's way underrated in terms of beauty. And lots of people have cabins in the woods. I personally don't. A lot of people do. So you just go up there with friends, whatever, hang out at the cabin, go swimming in the cold lakes. Bring, ATVs and off-road vehicles to screw around in. Fishing is huge. I hate fishing. Camping is huge. I love camping. The more rustic, the better. Give me a super rustic cabin without water and electricity, and I'm sold. A lot of people call cabins when they're actually like second houses, sometimes nicer than their main house. They'll call it a cabin. That's super common, kind of bugs me. To me, that's just a second house on a lake. Otherwise, yeah, a lot of family stuff where you'll just hang out with your family for a week at a cabin or something. Kind of cool. Tons of resorts, thousands of resorts. Bazillion bugs. Bear, deer everywhere. No moose. You gotta get closer to Canada for the moose, eh? Don't have moose in Minnesota. Um, let's see. I mean, perhaps there are moose in the farthest northern extremities of Minnesota, but I don't think so. So anyway, there's Lake Itasca. On our nose, it looks like a horseshoe. It looks like a wishbone. Several resorts. It's a state park, so there's state park cabins and things, but then there are also other resorts operated by other people all around. You can cycle or hike all around. And I think it's a 16-mile cycling trip. Tons of hills. It's not flat, so we see people stranded on their bicycles halfway around all the time. Families will get on the bikes. Kids can't make it. It's kind of difficult. This is one of our like 13,000 plus lakes. Of course, people say Minnesota is land of 10,000 lakes, but it's more like 13 or even 16,000 now. Lake Itasca is just one of them. It's famous for the Mississippi starting. Indigo Girls wrote a song, has some words about the Mississippi and Itasca. They moved the beginning of the lake, of the river, Mississippi River, the mighty Mississippi. They moved it so it could be more accessible to tourists. Isn't that funny? So it's actually not in the original position. I think they moved it 500 feet or something so people could get to it. Otherwise it's too swampy. And people couldn't get there, so they moved it. Crazy, huh? So, let's see. The resorts that are run by the state park resorts are along here. We've stayed there a few times. And then there's a big, like, hotel with food and stuff there. You cycle around, boat launches there. There's a museum and stuff there. Convenience store there. And then up around where the three arms join, there is a beach, man-made beach, of course. There's not naturally sand here. In fact, most sand beaches in Minnesota is sand brought in. Otherwise, it'd be rocky beaches for the most part. So the Mississippi in the sim looks like it starts right here. It actually starts here where you can walk across. They just moved it over. And we're at the beach, which is right here under the plane. There we go. The beach is right here. This is a place you can rent things like pontoons and things, but there's the beach right there, you just saw it. I have been swimming in the beach, of course, and super rustic changing facilities. So actually, people will change in the parking lot in front of everybody. I've seen it many times. People just like change by their cars. They don't care because the facilities are so nasty. They're really old, gross, whatever. Here's the Mississippi right here. Starts right here. It is not that awesome and wide in real life. In real life, it's just a trickling little creek or a creek. Can't even get a kayak in it. But there's the starting Mississippi. And it just winds around and around. We'll do our best to follow it as best as we can. It goes up here. Do. It is not this obvious in real life, by the way. It's very complicated to find. It's deep in the woods, very narrow and everything. But we'll do the best we can. So we'll use... Well, let's trim back here. I'm fighting this pretty hard, although it looks smooth on video. We will use this VFR map to follow the Mississippi as best as we can. And our first stop, so to speak, not where we're stopping the plane, but our first stop with the river before we have to find it again is Lake Bemidji. It enters in the south part of the lake, and then it goes off in the east part of the lake, which will give us a chance to talk about Bemidji as well. So we're going to follow the river all the way to Lake Bemidji. It goes in here, goes out to there. So that's what we're going to do. I just need to pick a side and stick with it because that's the Mississippi right there. There you go. So you can kind of get an idea how it's not really a big, wide river. Very difficult to spot. So anywho, the Lake Itasca resorts, the beach, man-made beach, weird changing facilities. Oh, pontoon. We rented a pontoon, my family. And we took the pontoon out for a day. It was fun. Of course, we jumped off the boat and went swimming. I wasn't in the water very long because I'm paranoid of snapping turtles in lakes. Because I've come across many, many snapping turtles in lakes, and I don't want my appendages to be bitten off by snapping turtles. So I don't spend much time in lakes, which is a bummer. I love being in the water. I love pools. I just don't really like lakes when you can't see what's under you. You've got like northern pike and stuff, and they will come up and bite you. They're not scared of you. I just don't like it. I was nibbled on by a sunfish when I was a kid. Not fun. True stuff, true stuff. So there's the Mississippi right there. There's your mighty Mississippi as it comes out of the Lake Itasca State Park area, heads to Bemidji. Very pretty. Like I said, lots of yapping in these first couple of videos because I actually know stuff and I can talk about stuff. It'd be fun if we had snow on the ground right now, given it's the middle of winter in Minnesota. It's Happy New Year, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Happy New Year to everybody, 2025. No snow, unfortunately. Oh well, that's just the way it goes sometimes. So anyway, I'm not going to name every single lake or anything. I'll just name the big ones. I'm trying to stay below the clouds. So what are we at? We're at 3,400 above sea level. Take away 1,500. So what is that? 3,000 take away 15 is 15. Add 4 more. So we're like 1,900 feet above ground level. Barely, only. So anyway, there's the Mississippi still. We're not losing it. We know where we're going. Anything else to say about Lake Itasca? Talked about the resorts. Talked about the pontoon. You can rent things. Talked about the beach. Talked about the bizarre changing facilities. There's a restaurant. There are cabins owned by other people around the state park border you can stay at. All incredibly rustic, and they all have cautions on their websites about how rustic they are, which to me, oh heaven. Give me a rustic cabin in the woods, no one running water, no electricity, on a tiny body of water that I can kayak around. Oh my gosh, I love kayaking. I could live on a kayak. Anyway, give me that. I'm in heaven. My wife says she loves it. She actually hates it, which is hilarious, but it's true. But a lot of people in Minnesota will have huge houses that they call cabins. They're really second houses that are better than their primary houses, and they call them cabins. It really bugs me. Be like, we were at the cabin for 7 days with 20 family members. It was so fun in our 8-bedroom, 5-bathroom cabin on the lake. No, that's a big old house. It's not a cabin. So anyway, I'm a minimalist. I'm a rustic, outdoorsy type person. So give me a kayak and a hole to go to the bathroom in, and I'm set. That's all I need. Alrighty, following the Mississippi that isn't so mighty. We're about to turn, though. I'm going to follow it to Lake Irving and Lake Bemidji. And we'll see how long this first part is. Like I said, convoluted. A lot of yip yap and getting out of here, but once we're couple hundred miles in, well, yeah, 500 miles into the Mississippi probably, then we'll finally not talk as much and have more sightseeing, because it's going to be a big wide river. It's going to be obvious, not much to say. But anyway, there's the Mississippi taking a turn here towards Lake Irving. Yeah, we'll talk about Bemidji when I get there, but for right now we're just going to follow this thing around. Got to be careful that we don't lose it, though, because it does make some turns and changes and comes in and out of lakes almost, but not quite. I believe we're still following it. Thankfully, yeah. Thankfully, well, here if I want to get specific, you know, the rivers here doesn't actually get to that lake, but I can't believe it's highlighting the Mississippi on our VFR map, because like I said, in real life it is not prominent at all for a very, very long time. So very cool. I wish we could see Lake Bemidji in front of us, but we can't. And like I said, we would be icing up if this were real life right now. So thankfully I have icing turned off. You can do visual only, but then it'd clog the windows and we wouldn't see anything. So anyway, let's go along a little bit. I'm going to rest my voice until we get to Lake Bemidji, which is just up around the corner. So I'll give you like 20 seconds of sightseeing if I can fly at the same time. And I've been hand flying, by the way. I could use autopilot and hold heading and stuff, but hand flying is just too fun. The problem is I just talk more. there's the Mississippi entering Lake Irving, and then it crosses the highway right here into Lake Bemidji. So this is the Bemidji area of Minnesota. The main city is right here. You have all the Paul Bunyan statue, and Bay the Blue Ox statue, and Welcome Center over here. What's our speed looking like? Okay. And the university is here. In fact, it's funny because people go to Bemidji State University, what they do is they park on the lake. So if you don't get a parking permit to park there like normally, you can park there in the winter by parking on the lake and then walking to the university, which is right here. And people fall through the lake quite often in the winter. It'll be in the news like 55 cars went through Lake Bemidji because they were parked for the university. It's totally true. Totally true. But there's the university right there. This whole area. It's a very, very good university. The airport is there. I've been there. Menards is right there. Menards, our local hardware store. I used to work at Menards. Am I going too fast? No. So there's the river going out under the wing. Let's get over there and keep an eye on it. And then I'm going to follow it down to Stump Lake, which is a tiny lake, and then a few other small lakes. But anyway, so that's a quick tour of Bemidji, Minnesota. We could actually do an entire VFR video of Bemidji. It's that big of a deal. I have lots of family. My mom's extended family is from Bemidji, so I've been there many, many times. So yeah, that's just Bemidji for you. Like I said, I could do a whole video on it. So anyway, Stump Lake is right there. Tiny lake, but big deal for people in the area. Let's climb a little bit, get higher, so we can see more while we avoid the clouds. And again, I could use autopilot and use the heading bug and everything, which we'll do when the river gets bigger, but for all this twisty turny stuff, I'm having a lot of fun hand flying. Hopefully it's fun for you, because that just means I yap more, like I said. So if you noticed, on the east side of the lake, there's nothing. The west side and the south side of the lake, that's where the Bemidji stuff is. Pretty interesting. There's big resorts and campgrounds around the lake, of course. Alrighty, there's your Stump Lake, they call it. The river now goes ahead of us here. Whoops, wrong program. Whoops, come on, it's hard to see. It goes up here, goes under the highway, which is, I don't think that's a major highway. No, Highway County 12, not a big deal. Goes under the highway, comes down here to these lakes. And then I have to check Google Maps to see where it goes after it gets to the lake, because I don't think it's very obvious. So yeah, it touches one lake, goes into a second, goes into a third, and then where does the river go? I think it comes out the south. I'm scrambling to look at the map to find it because I can't remember. No, it goes out the east still to another lake, and then it comes out the south. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lakes we have to touch. Big lakes, by the way. And then here we go. There it is right there. Here's the river coming out, going down. So 5 lakes to touch, and then it's on its own for a little bit. So like I said, this is very convoluted to navigate. It is not basically north to south like everybody thinks it is. You can see on the map, it goes here, touches 1 lake, 2 lake, 3 lake, 4 lake, 5 lakes, right over here, and then I can't remember if it comes out here. I think it comes out down here, but we'll have to look once we get closer. So anyway, let's just keep an eye on what we're doing here. We're missing the lake to our south by a lot. Well, that's what this is. I already told you. That's what it is. So then it comes out here, right? And it keeps going. So we'll just stay alongside of it so that we can keep track of what we're doing, because look at all this water. See how hard this is? It's super complicated. And we have no airports around here, so we're kind of stuck. Oh my, we're stuck for a long time. So I think what's going to happen is I'll end this video soon, and then it'll just resume in the air. And the next video will start in the air. So you're not going to get a cold and dark start in the next video either. So I'm sorry about that. You just have to keep watching to see when we do a cold and dark on this airplane. So Mississippi enters here, right? And it goes through these lakes and bays. Let's hop outside there, you can see it. So it goes there, goes here through the clouds. There's probably, those might be snow clouds, to be honest. It might be snowing right now in real life here. So if we came back another day, there might be snow on the ground. But anyway, what are these lakes called? Of course they have names. We first touched Wolf Lake. And now we're leaving to get to, what lake is this? Do you see a lake? I don't know why I don't recognize that name, but I don't. And then we go to Allen's Bay, which is on, what lake is that? It's part of a huge lake. Cass Lake. Duh. Oh my gosh, I feel embarrassed. In fact, hey, we're going to fly over one of the resorts we've been with my wife's family on Cass Lake. Oh yeah, Allen's Bay. Yeah. Yes, that's why I recognize Allen's Bay, because we've been there. Are we there yet? I don't think so. Allen's Bay is... Oh, we passed it already. Dang it. So the resort we've been on is, if I can turn enough to look out the window. Do we have a view out that window? Oh, come on. It's going to be right here. Yeah, right there. Oh my gosh, we've been there. My wife's family has been there. I've been with them. Whoop, let's be careful here. We're in some IMC, so it's hard to see what I'm doing. Anywho, yeah, okay, that's cool. What a coincidence. So anyway, yes, I've been there. Okay, hang on now. We gotta concentrate. Yep, and we've been all over here on the boat, on the pontoon we rent. Oh yeah, I've been all over this lake. Beautiful. So yeah, Cass Lake, super famous lake in Minnesota. People are like, where are you going this weekend? Cass Lake. They know where you're going. So the Mississippi exits up here somewhere. Right there, I think. If you can see through the clouds. Actually, let's check the map since I'm lost in the clouds. Yep. Or is it, hang on. No, it's probably over here. Let me point down, which is bad. Right here it exits. Okay, so we'll aim for that. We'll stay to the north so we can see. Oh. Are we out of fuel? Oh no. We are out of fuel. There we go. Okay. There it is. Mississippi exits right there. Alright, I have to check my fuel gauges. I don't know where the fuel gauges are. There's fuel there. Okay. You just have to keep an eye on it. Because that was scary. Alrighty, so anyway, whoop. Lots to climb even more. So we're going to exit the lake. And then we'll be on our way to the next lake, which is Lake Winnebigoshish. I can never pronounce this. I see it in print all the time. Winnebigoshish. Winnebigoshish. I'll put the spelling on the screen right now. Winnebigoshish. Again, super famous lake. I think people call it Lake Winnie, though. So there's the river, Mississippi River again. There it is. Your mighty Mississippi Creek. Right here. Going through to Lake Winnebigoshish, or whatever it's called. And then that's where things get complicated. And is it on the VFR map after that? I think it's showing right here. Let me see if that's really it. Yep. That's where it goes after the lake. And again, look, it gets even smaller still. So look at that. It's not easy to follow, I told you. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to end the video right now as we leave Cass Lake. How beautiful is that? And the next video, I'll start right away recording and we'll pick it up from here. So make sure you subscribe, notifications turned on so you know when that video comes out. Hit the like button and I'll see you in a couple days.